This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Good morning. It is Sunday, July 21st, 2024. Straight ahead today, the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump has many asking, how did it happen? Today, Insight saying that it couldn't happen in Connecticut from Brian Foley, former Hartford deputy chief who handled security for visits by Hartford to Biden and Trump. More people vacationing in our state right now. Connecticut Tourism Director Rachel Lenda is with us. And a new magazine is out. CT Hoops will meet the publisher Anthony Price, plus the remarkable story of a remarkable man who's been a state employee for more than half a century. But first, the lead. What if President Biden or former President Trump came to Connecticut? Would they be safe? Well, last week's assassination attempt in Pennsylvania has many questioning security. Today, we get some insight from one of the state's most respected law enforcement voices. Currently the town manager of Tolland, Brian Foley, former Hartford police deputy chief, who was later with state police. And Chief Foley, thank you so much for being with us here today. You have been masterminding the security behind some of these events for years now in Hartford and across Connecticut. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, your reaction to the assassination attempt on former President Trump.
Shock, and because it's not what we're accustomed to here in the state of Connecticut. Look, from everything from president to former presidents, candidates, vice presidents, first ladies coming into the city of Hartford, we planned for all of those things. And I have to say, my experience in Hartford with the Secret Service stationed here just a couple blocks away in New Haven was completely different from what we saw down in Pennsylvania. Look, they would contact us. Typically, let me tell you how it works. In advance of a date where they know that a president is coming or a candidate's coming, they usually tip you off as soon as they can, but that's at the last minute for them. They try to, they're not going to tell you. They tell you when you need to know, You start planning then. What else is going on in the city? Resources. You start getting other resources together, state resources, local resources, and you start looking at everything. Then the Secret Service comes in, and it's their operation. It's entirely their operation. And look at the Trump rally we had in Hartford in 16. It was crazy back then, and protests, counter-protests, and it was obviously a lightning rod. But we looked at it in a state like Connecticut with cities, New Haven, Stamford, Waterbury, Bridgeport. We looked at it as an opportunity for us to shine and for the state to have confidence and pride in the security level that we could provide, especially for this type of, such a volatile Trump event. You have the state police, same thing, that even if there was ineptitude, and there never was on a part of the Secret Service, even if there was ineptitude, the planning and everything would be, the other law enforcement agencies would cover that. Now, they come in, and we all together form an operations plan. And in that operations plan, you plan for everything. The routes in, where he's walking, where he's standing, windows, doors, roofs, mailboxes. You have routes to the hospital. If something goes wrong, you can't get to that level 1 trauma center, the next one. The cars are pointed this way. The escape route is this way. Every little detail is planned. Then there's a walkthrough where you look at the roofs, you look at the windows. And so for me to see what happened in Pennsylvania, and then to have the completely opposite experience here in the state of Connecticut with the Secret Service here, and then the local and state police, everyone together. And keep in mind, these events are not entirely staffed by the Secret Service at all. So you have different SWAT teams, different sniper teams, much like in Pennsylvania. You're seeing yes, there are Secret Service teams, but they're supplemented by state and local resources as well. And so to see all this go wrong there, confounding.
And things have changed so much over the years. 60 years ago, when President Kennedy was assassinated, I was reading that they announced his visit weeks in advance. They had a map in the newspaper, and so much fell by the wayside, and obviously it ended.
I'll bring it home a little more, Dennis. Gerald Ford's car got hit in downtown Hartford, and they changed how that operates. Now they shut down all the traffic now.
So what happened was, President Ford was in a limo leaving the Civic Center, which is now the Excel Center.
Correct.
And one Hartford police officer forgot his post or something like that, and so the president's limo was broadsided.
Yep. Yeah, I wasn't on the job back then.
No, well, it was like
rookie year.
1975 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you learn from these things, and I remember when President Biden came to Hartford not too long ago,
yes,
a few years back.
2021, and I was involved at the state level on the planning for that. He landed on the tarmac.
That motorcade from the airport to his location was very fast, right? Because
yes, everything's shut down. Also, very secretive as to when and how they're moving and what routes and what exit ramps they're taking, and it's on a need-to-know basis.
So how do you think that this gunman got in past security in Pennsylvania.
So what went wrong, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of what went right. When the shots rang out, the team that had the body on the stage, the former president, they jumped on him. They were on very quickly and got to him very quickly. That went right. The fact that the snipers had him in their sights already, that was good that they had him. What I think, and my guess, and I can't wait to read the after-action report. After these things, there's an after-action report, and that'll identify everything that went wrong. It's a communication failure. If you look at the planning we had for Trump in Hartford, we had a unified command center, a command post, where every entity there, every federal agency, state agency, local law enforcement had a representative, a decision-making representative in that communications command post where you could make decisions, where everyone could see everything. The technology was amazing. One push of a button, everyone could hear everything. If you had body camera video, we could share it. So where I think it went wrong, obviously, I think to everyone, is there was a communications issue. They saw him. He wasn't readily identifiable as a police officer. It's not like he went down to the Army Navy store and bought the police vest and all that type of garb. This is a kid in a t-shirt and jeans, for all intents and purposes. With the scopes that these snipers have on those rifles, they can count the pimples on this kid's chin. They're that good. And so this comes down to a lack of a command decision and communication for that person to be taken out.
So we are not likely going to see presidential visits this fall because Connecticut's not a battleground state. But let's just hypothetically say that Trump or Biden was going to come. Let's say they wanted to do a rally at Duncan Park.
Yep. And
they would approach local police. Would that be advised as maybe a location that can't be secured, or would you suggest something else?
I can guarantee, that's a great example. If you've sat behind home plate and you can see all the other buildings that are in the backdrop, I can guarantee there'd be a walkthrough of every window, the building secured, and somebody on each rooftop from either the city of Hartford, the state police, or somebody along those lines. What worries me, I still do think someone could stop through here as the campaign draws towards the end. I'm worried it's going to embolden somebody. If this 20-year-old kid, can grab his dad's gun and get to a rooftop and get a shot off, imagine someone who's trained and that is, a much more evil type of person.
Or a team.
Or a team, exactly. You're going to see heightened security. Make no mistake about it. And again, the message here is this would never happen in Connecticut, and based on what I saw here years ago.
So if it was at Duncan Park, all the roads around it would be closed?
Oh, everything would be locked down.
There'd be metal detectors?
Everything would be locked down, especially now. Even though he's a sitting president's going to have a much bigger detail than a former or a candidate, but still a detail and all the resources. And it comes down to the local and state law enforcement really coming together and having that team approach and really looking out. Everyone's looking out to make sure there are no mistakes and no shortfalls in everything. And it seems to me something happened to leave a rooftop exposed like that. It's odd.
What about background checks on people who are going to these things? I know as a media person, when I've been assigned to cover the president or candidate, they always ask for your social security number. They run a background check on you, the whole bit. But average people can walk in and you don't know who they are.
Well, Dennis, you and others who are going to get immediate access or close access, that close to a former or current president, are going to get that background check and that scrub down and really scrub down who's there and who's coming. But these events, these rallies, you look at when we had Bernie Sanders in Hartford, that was over by the Connecticut River in a wide open space. Trump, everybody, you go through the security checkpoints to get in and make sure you don't have any weapons or anything on you. But beyond that, the average Joe is not getting to within touching distance of the president. So that you would have greater access, you would have a greater background check, but the regular person, I bet I'm certain these rallies are going to be approached much differently with much greater security.
Well, let's hope for safety and no bad actions, even though there are some bad apples out there. So,
Not in Connecticut.
Brian Foley, we appreciate you being with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back in just a moment.